Hello dear student, I am going to explain today about metabolism phase 2 reaction. Before that only I covered metabolism part 1 and part 2 video. Before going to that part 3 what I am going to discuss today, first go through that metabolism part 1 and part 2 video so that you can understand that topic better. So now I am going to explain about metabolism. Metabolism part 1 video I discuss about metabolism, how it is going on, how which organs it is participating in, what are the enzymes involved in that, what is the purpose of metabolism. And in part 2 video I have discussed about phase 1 of metabolism. Today in this video I am going to explain about the phase 2 of metabolism drug. So I have already told that the main motive of metabolism is to convert a drug into a high hydrophile or polar metabolite so that it can easily eliminate through that urine. So that is the main motive of metabolism, to changes that changes that drugs into polar and hydrophilic drugs so that it can eliminate through urine. So for that process only metabolism takes place. So here three types of process can be takes place. First thing is drug, and first it can be that drug will not go through any phase 1, then no phases, it will not go through any phases, it will directly eliminate through urine. The second thing what it can done, that drug will go through phase 1 reaction, it will convert to hydrophilic and polar, then it will eliminate through urine. And some of drugs are there which will not convert it into more hydrophile or polar by passing through phase 1 reaction. So for all that drug will go through phase 2 metabolism after phase 1, then it will convert it into fully hydrophilic or polar substance or metabolite, then it can be eliminated through the urine. So in part 2 video I already have discussed about phase 1, by which the drug can be go through phase 1, then it can eliminate through urine. Today I am going to discuss about phase 2. In phase 2, that drug which are not fully converted to hydrophile or polar drug, that will go phase 2 reaction after phase 1, so that it will convert it into more hydrophilic and polar drug so that it can eliminate through that urine. So let's get started into phase 2 reaction. In phase 2 reaction, first thing and first process what are more important in phase 2 reaction, because most of the drugs which are going through phase 2 metabolism are going through by that process only, that is glucuronide conjugation. What is glucuronide conjugation? We know conjugation means addition or directly reacted to a substance. Here conjugation is telling us glucuronide, that means the drug will bind with glucuronic acid. So all the drugs doesn't metabolize through that glucuronide conjugation. So first we have to know what are the drugs going through metabolized by glucuronide conjugation. The drug which have functional group of hydroxyl or functional group of carboxylic acid can be metabolized to that glucuronide conjugation by adding or by binding with glucuronide acid, and it will convert it to more hydrophilic and polar substance and metabolites, and then pass through urine for that elimination. That process of drug which are containing hydroxyl and carboxylic group adding with glucuronide acid in presence of UDP, glucuronide transferase enzyme, that process is called as glucuronide conjugation. By that drug will converted into more hydrophilic and more polar substance and then go through or eliminate by urine. So now we have to remember what are the drugs that generally metabolize by that process. The examples are which pass through that glucuronide example is aspirin. The second example is paracetamol, and the third and foremost example is diazepam. So that three drugs that contains hydroxyl and carboxylic group pass through or metabolize through glucuronide conjugation like aspirin, paracetamol and diazepam. Then they will converted into high hydrophile or polar substance, then got eliminated through urine. So I have already discussed about glucuronide conjugation by through aspirin, paracetamol and diazepam is going through metabolize and polar substance it will create and it will eliminate through urine. The second process in metabolism phase 2 is methylation. By that name only you can understand easily methyl group and ylation means addition. So the process in which with the drug methyl group is adding, that is called as methylation. For that different drugs are there which pass through that metabolism by methylation process. So in that methylation process, which are the drugs generally takes place of metabolism? The drugs generally of phenol. The drugs which containing phenol groups generally pass through metabolism by methylation process. In that process you can easily understand methyl group will add with that drug. So with that drug methyl group will add, then it will convert it into high polar and hydrophilic drug, then it will pass through urine elimination. So this is the one of the process or second process in metabolism part 2. By that the drug which contains phenol group will pass through methylation process and will convert it into high polar or high hydrophilic drug that will pass through urine by metabolism. But in that process methyl group is adding, the enzyme which is helping is methyl transferase. Methyl transferase. So methyl transferase is helping phenol group to add methyl to get eliminated through urine by converting into high polar or high hydrophilic drug. The examples of drug which generally pass through metabolism by that reactions is adrenaline, dopamine. These all are the drugs which generally contains phenol group and pass through metabolism by methylation. In presence of methyl transferase group, methyl will add with that drug and convert it into high polar or high hydrophilic metabolite that will eliminate through urine. So the third process of phase 2 metabolism is acetylation. In methylation, I have already told that methyl group will add with a drug and then got metabolized. So in part 3 process of phase 2 reaction is acetylation. Methylation means addition of methyl. Acetylation means addition of acetyl group with a drug is called as acetylation. Like previous processes, specific drugs are there which are going to metabolize in specific route or in specific process. Like in glucuronide conjugation, I have already told that aspirin, paracetamol will go through that metabolism. In methylation, I have already told adrenaline and dapsone will pass through. So in metabolism phase to acetylation, different drug will be there, will pass through that metabolism. The drugs which are containing amino group or hydrolyzine group. the drug content amino group or hydrolyzation group will pass through or will metabolize by acetylation reaction. In acetylation reaction, what it will happen with the drug, acetyl group will add. For that acetyl group adding, which enzyme is taking place or which enzyme is helping, that is acetyl coenzyme A. So after addition of acetyl coenzyme A, acetyl group will add through the drug which are containing amino group and hydrolyzing group, then will process to metabolism and will convert into hydrophil or polar drug, then that will eliminate through urine. So the drugs which are generally metabolized by that process is or are sulfonamides, which are antibacterial, then dapsone. All that examples are there, or all that drugs are there which contain amino group or hydrolyzing group that are going through metabolism by acetylation process. In that, acetyl group will add in presence of acetyl coenzyme A, and it will convert it into more hydrophilic or polar drug, and that hydrophilic and polar drug can easily eliminate through that urine. So I have already covered glucuronyl conjugation, then acetylation, then methylation, which are important pathway for that metabolism phase 2 reaction. The last process in phase 2 metabolism is nucleotide synthesis. We all know what is the meaning of nucleotide. Nucleoside means it will consist of phosphoric acid, nitrogen bases, and different phosphoric acid or sulfur. That nucleotide are two types. It is pyridine and pyrimidine, that we have already studied in biology when we will discuss about DNA, RNA, everything. In that, two types of nitrogen bases were there, that was calling a nucleotide. One is pyrimidine, second one is pyrimidine. In that pyrimidine, two things are there: adenosine, guanosine. In that was tyrosine, thymine, and uracil. So in that process of nucleotide synthesis, it is involvement of activation of pyridine and pyrimidine nitrogen bases, so that drug can easily metabolize by that process and converted into high hydrophil or high polar drug, so that it can easily eliminate through that urine. The example of drugs which are generally passed through or metabolized by that nucleotide synthesis process is antimetabolites. Antimetabolites. What are antimetabolites? That I will discuss in later when we will discussing different drugs, different classification. Just remember, we will study anti-cancer drug. In anti-cancer drug, different types are there, or different classes are there. In one of the class, example of anti-cancer drug is antimetabolite. That antimetabolites will activate the synthesis of pyridine or pyrimidine, that means nitrogen base activation, that will active RNA, DNA, or nucleotide, and then drug will convert it into hydrophilic or polar substance totally, so that it can easily eliminate through that urine. So in that video, I have already discussed about phase 2 of metabolism, that is involvement of different processes like glucuronyl conjugation, acetylation, methylation, and nucleoside synthesis, that I already have covered. So go through that metabolism phase 2 process, and I am again requesting you to go through part 1 and part 2, so that you can understand metabolism part 3 better. Both videos link is given into the description. In next video, we will discuss about elimination of drug then it will finish off that general pharmacology or general pharmacokinetics of drug. Thank you.